this is me, heart and soul. Here's a part of me the world may never know. Here's my story. When I lose, I let my guard down. Here's the naked truth. I let my guard down. Here's the naked truth. I let my guard down. I let my guard down. I let my guard down. Here's the naked truth.
My people, what is going on? This is your boy Monroe, aka He Smiles, your essential life coach. And once again, I am the proud host of the Naked Truth Experience, y'all. Listen, if you're tuning in by YouTube, if you're tuning in by Facebook Live, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is episode 22. You hear what I'm saying? Listen, I love it. Each week, that number keeps going up, and each week you keep coming back, and hopefully you're bringing somebody with you. If this is your first time, or if this is your 22nd time, or any time in between, let me just start by saying I am grateful, most grateful for you being here tonight, okay? This is the Naked Truth Experience, and we are creating opportunities for folks to speak their truth, to own their truth, to love their truth, to embrace their truth, to celebrate their truth, and for there to be a space for healing and transformation. My God, we're here. So listen, as you are coming into the room, as we always say, wave to your neighbor, wave to your community member, and let them know who you are. Get in those comments, y'all. Let us know where you are viewing from. Let us know what you're sipping on. I'm going to let you know what my wine of the week is a little bit later on, but let us know what you're sipping on. Let us know who you are, and tell us something about yourself. How are you feeling today, right? Come on in the room, y'all. Come on in the room. And if you can, share this live with somebody else and let somebody else benefit from the Naked Truth Experience. Now, as you're coming in the room, I also want you to remember, like us, follow us, and subscribe to us. So we are on Instagram. Yes, we are still on Instagram. So please make sure you go and you like our page and comment on the page. Also, I want you to follow us on Instagram. I want you to like us on Facebook, the Facebook page, and I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There is something else I would like you to do. I want you to join this community by getting into our new Facebook group. This is where we will continue the conversation, where we will put resources. I already actually have some questions tonight that I'm going to be addressing in tonight's topic, and I'll get to that in a minute, from our Facebook group. So the person who put that in there, thank you so much. You will hear us discuss those topics tonight. So those are the ways that you can engage with us throughout the week, not just on the show. And once again, I'm grateful. Share, like, and subscribe. All right, now, once again, this is episode 22, and tonight we are talking about a subject that is very heavy, a subject that in many instances can be taboo, and a subject, y'all, that is very, very important, especially in our community where we don't always like to talk about these things. Tonight, we are talking about melanin and mental health, suicide prevention. Now, I'm going to let you know something. This topic is near and dear to my heart in a lot of different ways, and I'm going to go into that when we get with our first guest today. But I just want you to know, y'all, if what we talk about is triggering to you, if what we talk about tonight is disturbing to you, I want you to know that you are not alone. And I want you to know that there is somebody out there that can help you process through certain things that may be coming up for you. And tonight, stay tuned, because we are going to have some vital resources for you to access if you need it. So I just want you to know that tonight you will hear from some brothers who have been in a place where they didn't know where to turn, myself included. And so we're going to dig into those stories, but I just need you to know tonight that you are not alone, and that there is resources and somebody out there who wants to hear you, who wants to embrace you, who wants to love you, and wants to make sure that you know you matter. All right. Tonight, we do have a featured wine, y'all. I know I'm going to mess up the name of the featured wine, so just bear with me. But tonight I am sipping on Adesso Cagnina di Romagna. How did I do? Did I do all right? Y'all put that in the comments. If you speak Italian, somebody let me know if I did that right. But I do want to thank my brother Lawrence Hines, who is also one of the guests on our shows tonight, because he sponsored this wine. I want to also put a plug out there that each week I want to feature a new wine. If you are a winemaker yourself, or if you know of a winemaker who would like to have their wine featured on this show, please make sure you drop us a line in our DM and let us know, because I want to feature that, especially if you are a Black winemaker. I really want to feature you. All right, y'all. So again, stay in those comments tonight because your comment may be featured. I want to introduce our guest tonight. I'm going to start with my brother, Damon Watson. He is a clinical director, and he is going to serve as our clinician tonight. Damon, where you at, brother? Come on this screen here. Yo, Damon, unmute yourself, brother. I see that thing going through your thing right there, your microphone. There we go. Yeah. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Monroe?
Listen, I'm so glad to have you on tonight. You're going to be my first guest, so we're going to come back in a minute. But just, I wanted the people to see your lovely face right there,
What's
okay?
up?
Y'all say what's up to Damon. All right, all right. My second guest, y'all. Hold on, let me pull. You see what's happening here? Production, you got to let me know, brother. My second guest, y'all. Love this brother here. His name is Lawrence Hines, y'all. I had to look at my order of, that's why I was looking down. Lawrence Hines, he is a mental health advocate, and he's also a branding marketing consultant. Y'all say what's up to Lawrence. What's up, my brother? Wait, Lawrence, you black, brother. Your screen is black. What's up?
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
You buffering all up in there, but you back, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Man, good to see your Colgate smile. If y'all know this brother, you know he always does his Colgate smile. And I want to say thank you for this lovely wine, because it does taste really good. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you.
And I heard you sipping on the same thing tonight.
I am.
Brother, I'm going to be coming back to you shortly. There we go. All right. And then last but definitely not least, I want to welcome my third guest, Mr. Phillip PJ Ryan, or Phillip PJ James. He's an actor, writer, an educator, a creator all around. PJ, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm glad to be here. How you doing?
Let me tell you, this is what you're not going to do. You're not going to come on my show and upstage me with that old silky, sexy, that midnight love voice. Let me tell you, right?
I'm sorry. It's the mic. It's the energy, man.
Somebody turn his mic off. Turn his mic off. Mute it. No, listen, man, I'm glad to have you tonight, and definitely I look forward to our conversation in a little bit. All right, y'all. So those are my guests for tonight. And let's go ahead and bring Damon back. Damon, where you at, my brother?
What's up, Monroe? What's up, brother?
Hey, I'm good. Damon, first of all, I just want to thank you very much for being on the show tonight, because I reached out to you probably about a month and a half ago. And I said, man, listen, some stuff has been happening in my life personally. And I also saw that it was going to be World Suicide Prevention Day. And I was like, I want to do this with you because I probably met you maybe about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me what you did as a profession and being a clinician or clinical director, but specifically really in the area of suicide prevention and working with individuals. If you can just give us a little bit of background of what you do, my brother, who you are. We definitely want to know who you are, even just outside of what you do. So who are you, my brother?
Well, Monroe, thank you so much. Like, this is such a topic. This is a topic that makes me excited, but I also recognize that it scares some people, right? Because this is a topic that makes you focus on you. Right. So I appreciate the fact that you were present enough, mindful enough to say, you know what, let's talk about this. I think this is a conversation that we should be having more on an ongoing basis. Right. Yeah. So thank you for creating a platform and using it to help educate us, to help save a life, because that's what you're doing, man. So thank you. So I am honored to be here. I am a therapist by nature. That's who I am. That's what I love to do. Yeah. My friends hate it. And if they chime in, they'll probably say it because I assess everything. I am an observer, right? But I love talking about mental health therapy, especially in the Black community. And suicide is near and dear to my heart. One would argue that talking about suicide makes me happy. So talking about this, man, makes me extremely happy, and I'm honored to be here. So thank you.
Listen, you pointed it out, and this is the naked truth. You and I, when we had our pre-conversation, there were some things that you said that I was like, oh yeah, we need to bring that up, because even when you said talking about suicide makes me happy, that may give somebody pause and be like, wait a minute, how could you talk about something so tragic and it make you happy? Why are we so afraid to have these conversations, especially in the Black community, around suicide?
You know, I think one, we have to address that the fact that we don't like to talk about mental health, right? And suicide is an extreme that is a response to mental health, poor mental health, not good, positive mental health, right? So when we think about mental health, you know, that's taboo in the Black community. It is a weakness. It is a sign of weakness. And, you know, what we have to do to become more aware and more present is to really challenge that notion. That is a myth. There is nothing factual about that. I'm a firm believer that our emotions are our superpower, right? And once we're able to handle our emotions and respond to our emotions, we have a power that many have never mastered.
Yeah.
So if we talk about that more, we're lighting that fire of them recognizing that emotion. If they can recognize that emotion, they can go from there.
Let me get a little personal with you. One of the reasons why this is near and dear to my heart is because January 31st, 2018, right here in my home, I had a breakdown and where I basically was spiraling out mentally. And for the first time, I had began to contemplate my own existence, and I had began to contemplate whether it was better if I no longer was living. And there's a two-part question in here. And the first thing is that the thing that gave me alarm, and the reason why I reached out, is because not only did I think, well, should I no longer be here? And mine was rooted in shame, because I was going back in my head about things that I was very, very ashamed of, actions, things that I had done to other people that had hurt other people. And I thought I was unworthy of love. Right?
Wow.
I thought I was worthy of love, brother. And so I laid here and my mind started spiraling out. But here's what gave me alarm, because not only did I think about not being here, but then I started to think about how would I do it? And what I had known through my clinical training, right, is that when you start to cross over and contemplating how you
plan,
the plan is like, hold up. So my first question is, man, like, is there any kind of, for lack of a better term, acceptable contemplation of your own existence or mortality or death? Like, is that normal for people to be thinking about, what if I wasn't here? That's the first question I want to ask you, and then I'll go into to another question.
Yeah. First, thank you for sharing your truth. You know, you just let me know that why this is the naked truth because of that moment. So thank you for sharing your truth. I am grateful that you are still here. And I want to be clear, you know, suicide ideation, the idea of suicide that comes into our head, that is something that happens to the majority of Americans, the majority of people, the majority of humans, because we deal with this thing called life. We have ups and downs. Yeah. And there are times when we get to a place where we don't see any other options. Right. And for those that die by suicide, they did not see another option. That was what they saw as their only choice. So the idea is that, man, it comes into all of our heads. Me as a clinician, have I said, oh, my God, you know, I don't want any more of this. Wow. Right. You know, it would be best that I don't wake up. So that is an idea that comes to our head because of our current situation, that current stressor. Right. So I want to make it known that's OK. It is OK to have that thought. There is nothing wrong with having that thought.
So then,
however,
what pushes you over? What is like, hey, there's alarm here.
Yep. There's one. I appreciate you because you recognized that you had crossed the boundary within your life, within your beliefs, that something's different now. My emotions are different. And if I'm not thinking that, something's wrong. That people think that all the time. And many of them come up with a plan, which is where that once crisis or normalized crisis is now much more lethal. When you cross to the point of thinking of a plan and you have an intent, that's when additional support is needed. That's when additional support is needed, man. And that's something that, you know, what that looks like. I want to have some time talking about what that looks like and what we can do.
Definitely. Let me continue with my story and then ask the second part of that question, I then did reach out, thankfully, and someone responded and came and got me, and then I ended up in an ER, stripped of my clothing. So I'm just in a hospital, right? They're following protocol. Anytime that they hear that there is suicidal ideation, I was stripped of my clothing and I was sat in a ER hospital hallway, right? And waited for about 3.5 hours to be evaluated by the clinician that was on staff. In that 3.5 hours, I was in my head, how did I get here? How a brother who is in social work school at the time, working on his master's in social work, how am I sitting in this hospital ER hallway, can't have anything on me because I just mentioned that I had considered taking my life? How do we get here? How do we get here? What are you seeing when you are counseling with individuals? What are some of the reasons why we even get to this point?
There are so many reasons. And again, that I appreciate you sharing your truth, man. And there are so many reasons. There's so many risks. There are so many things that come to us that play a major role in it. I want to, when it comes to when it comes to us, people like us, when we think about everything that's going into the world right now, we have all of these stressors in life. We have stressors in life from family, personal, professional, all of these different stressors in life, and our body responds to it almost like data, right? Our body responds to that stressor. And once that stressor comes in, our body responds to it. Our behaviors, we do something to respond to that, right? However, that gets to a point where there's so many stressors that come in and you can no longer respond to all of them. Your body says, all right, I'm done. Your mind says, all right, I want no more of this. Like, enough is enough. I want no more. That's how we get there. We become overwhelmed with everything that is coming our way, right? And if we don't have good coping strategies set up, if we don't have support systems set up, if we don't have things in place that can help us respond to that, we see no other light.
We have just a few more minutes in this segment because you're going to come back and we want to hear from Lawrence and PJ, but I'm going to put out this controversial question because this is what came up. And are all suicides preventable?
So this is a hard truth for me that as a therapist, that as a clinician, I have to recognize. The fact of the matter is that all suicides are not preventable. Right. And as much as that bothers me, we have to realize that no matter how well intentioned, how alert, how well informed, how diligent people's efforts may be, there is no way from preventing all suicides to occur. There is no way to change someone's mental choice, everyone's mental choice of saying, I see nothing else, because we don't know what's always going on up there. Is suicide preventable, though? It sure is. Is suicide preventable? Yes, God. And we're going to talk about that. Are all suicides preventable? No.
Wow. Damon, thank you for just kind of laying out some really important tenets, core tenets for us opening up this topic, man. Like I said, you are coming back with us. And I definitely want you to, as you're going to be listening backstage with Lawrence and PJ, their story and their journey. Definitely when we come back, I want to hear your insights around that, man. And then, as you said, we're going to share some more for somebody who's out there and saying, wait a minute, that's me. That's right now. Like, how can we help that individual so they don't feel like that is their only alternative, right?
Yeah.
So thank you, brother. We'll be back with you soon. Listen, we're going to go ahead and bring on Lawrence. My brother, where you at? Mr. Lawrence Hines, mental health advocate. My guy, what's going on?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. So listen, again, I want to thank you for being here. You're a branding consultant and mental health advocate, but if you just want to let the folks know just a little bit more about you, man, you from the South, right?
Yes, sir. Born and raised, Texas, Dallas, Oak Cliff.
You hear how he said it, Texas, Dallas. Listen, man, and you've been in the New York City area for how long?
I believe 7 years now.
7 years. You've also been very open about your mental health journey. Something that both you and I share in common is that we manage our depression, right? We both have been diagnosed with depression and at times have had to manage that. And we've talked about that as brothers. You are my brother, and we talked about that. Let me know just a little bit about that journey for you and in managing your depression.
Uh, Actually, I just give a quick little
Go ahead.
context.
Come
So
on.
I actually, when I was, my first diagnosis of deep depression was at the age of 20. And my first initial attempt at suicide, which this is a day that everybody say, never forget. But actually on 9/11, right before the two towers were hit, I was at home, had my dad's gun, had it to my head, pulled a trigger, bullet, nothing happened. I broke down in that moment, and a few minutes later, my dad called me and told me to look at the news and what was going on, and it kind of jarred me, shook me, kind of like, okay, maybe life is not that bad. But never got help for like a little bit over 10 years. I got help because I just realized one day, in the midst of getting ready to commit suicide again, here in New York, was standing at the train station, and I was like, I can't do this no more. I can't.
Lawrence, so you've now just mentioned to us 2 attempts,
Mhm.
one at home, one in New York where you reside now.
Mhm.
Damon had mentioned that for many of us, when we get to that place, it's just like it's too much. There's too much coming in, and we get to a place of where we feel like, yo, I can't take this anymore. I'm tired. What was that for you? What was from that first attempt to the second attempt, and was it the same? What was that for you?
The two situations that pushed me there they weren't the same. When I was 20, it was for me, it was a lack of feeling loved, accepted on so many different levels. It was fighting with religious things that I had been taught, and juggling. Am I doing this right? Am I gonna go to hell? It was a lot at that time at 20. When I here in New York, I was actually just after I had open heart surgery. During that time, which my doctor told me, he was like, hey, some people don't know, but when you have these intensive surgeries, it can cause a chemical imbalance, right? And so they was watching me. So the thing about it is, like, I was already depressed, right? Had open heart surgery. I had the effects of the chemical imbalance on top of that. It kind of combined. And just one day, I was headed to therapy for you had to go through like rehabilitation therapy
Yeah.
for like when you do open heart. So I was
My
headed
God.
there, and I was just tired, and like I felt like the world was a dream. I was numb. I was hot. I was cold. It's like you feeling, for me, it's like almost you feel like every single emotion that you can feel at one time. And it's also numbing at the same time. And then also I felt at times like my head was about to explode. Right. So at that moment, I was at the train station, I was rocking back and forth, and the train was coming, and I was like, I'm gonna do it, I can do it. And literally rocked forward. I closed my eyes, I rocked forward, and in the midst of rocking backwards, I felt the coldness of the train just like brush past my nose. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? F my friends, F my family, F the church, F everything. If I don't go see somebody, the next time I will do it. I'm gonna die. And that's kind of like how I started my journey with therapy, and just going against what I've been taught, that Black people don't go to therapy. You can't believe in God and go to therapy. You can't, it was just a lot of stigmas, and
Lawrence, did you come from a religious background, right? Correct?
yeah.
Had you shared with your family those attempts? And if you did, what was the reaction? What was the reaction?
um so no. So if any of them are watching, they
This is the
hi. I'm
it's the
still
naked
here.
truth. You are still here, my brother, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. So no. And just kind of like on the other thing we was talking about with another transparency, the project I'm working on, in that nobody knows everything that's in that. So that's going to be like a shock here, because it's more in depth, it's more transparent, and it's Yeah, because I always felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to. I couldn't go talk to anybody in the church because I was always get this religious, reasoning about this, and oh, it's a demon. Oh, you need to fast. Oh, you need to have faith. It was always something where I just felt like nobody around me could understand. Couldn't talk to people in the neighborhood like my friends or any other Black person because Black people don't go to therapy. Black people don't get depressed. Black people, don't. That's a white person's thing. So I was literally journeying along that whole time.
And so where did you find the strength? Now, with the 2 attempts you talked about, you had resolved that if I don't get help, I will die. Those were your words, that if I don't get help after that second attempt, you said you would. So then where did you find the resource? What was your journey to even get to therapy? And once you got to therapy, what's been your experience and your journey since then?
So actually, while I was receiving service at that time, my primary care doctor had already been talking to me about, they was going to bring in an additional sector of the clinic where they're going to be doing therapy and mental health, and so I just after that point I reached out. I was like, you know what? Because at first I turned it down, right? And so after that I was like, I'll take you up on it. The beginning part of getting help, being able to be open with somebody, it does 2 things, right? You hear yourself saying things as you realize things you went through, which shock you. But then to have somebody that doesn't know you, won't judge you, to pull back those blinders so you can see things that have become a part of your makeup. That's not your DNA makeup. It just became a part of you. It's like, this is not you. This is not you. This is why this happened. This is why you had that reaction. And when those things start to unfold, I had to I was like, am I going to accept this and deal with it? Or am I going to say, I'm not going to deal with it and run away from it?
You are now very open about your journey. I mean, you shared with me today, there was an anniversary of one of the episodes, one of the first public episodes that you did, talking about your depression. You share that with me. And again, you talk about it freely and openly. How has that been for you? And do you feel shame? Is that what is that for you? What are you feeling? Or do you feel, is it power? And what's been the response and reaction to you sharing your story?
So far, I would say 95-8% has been positive. But the thing about this is my whole thing with sharing is I made it through some of the worst emotional pain that I have been through. And my thing is with sharing is I don't want people to go through, especially Black people, to go through what I went through because of stigmas, because of religion, because that was like so hard for me. And my whole thing is I just want to let people know is like, if this is all God put me on earth to do, I'm fine with that. But I want you to know that you are not alone. There is hope. Ask for it. And think about it is that help may not come in the matter of your friend or your family member, but there is hope. You are not alone. Black people can go to therapy and be fine. People that believe in God, people that pray and fast, we can go to therapy and it helps. Because what people don't realize is that also there is ignorant theology and also passed down ignorant sayings or stigmas that are doing more harm to us than helping us. But we have to be strong enough first for ourselves to say, you know what, grandmama, no disrespect, but I have to do it for me, right? I have to do it for me. That's what you was taught. Mama, that's what you was taught. Church people, that's what you was taught. But I'm pushing against it because if I don't push against it, I'm gonna die. And then when I die, church will automatically put me in hell. I'm going to hell. If I commit suicide, I'm going to hell.
Wow. Lawrence, you helping somebody here. You helping a whole lot of people here, because I know that there is a lot of people that are beholden, right? And that are imprisoned by the expectations or the imposed values or the imposed thoughts by ideology, right? Theology by their families, right? And so seeking help outside of the traditional fasting and praying, these things. And you just mentioned, man, like you mentioned that it's people deem it as going to hell. So there is shame, right, that is also associated with that, even for family. So when family thinks about it, well, if you take your life, how's that going to look on us, right?
You know, can I just quickly, this one thing I want people to understand, right? It's when people talk about suicide, people that commit suicide, technically it's selfish for you to want your family member to stay in a certain type of pain that you don't understand.
Ooh.
Right?
Oh.
This pain that they're going through is physical, it's emotional. Like literally my body was shutting down on me because I was going through so much stress and depression. So it's like you would rather for me to stay on this earth hurting, struggling, crying daily, sleeping all the time. And when depression and suicide combined take a hold of you, it paralyzes you to a place where if you don't have somebody that understands, pray about it and go help. It's not gonna help. So if you say, oh, well, you weak because you went out, you know what? Have your opinion, but you were not dealing with mentally, emotionally, and physically what I had to deal with. You deal with it and then tell me, was I weak if I committed suicide, right? And then even with the point when I was talking about at the train station, I said, God, I'd rather be in hell than have to deal with this. That's where I was like, I don't care. I don't care about what the church says. God, if I'll go to hell, I don't care.
Lawrence, you it's becoming, I mean, the tears are welling. Let me tell you why, man, because the description, and I think people don't understand. And people say, well, why did he do it? Why did she do it? How could she do it? Because people don't necessarily maybe fully fathom what you have just described and the pain and the suffering that individuals are having to go through and experience. In many instances, some feel like they have to do it alone and that they can't tell anybody because of maybe familial standards or religious context or a persona, right? Or a position or a socioeconomic status or a gender. These are things that people struggle with every day and they suffer in silence. And then we ask, well, how could they do it? So I just want somebody who's out there, who's listening to you today to understand, again, there are people like you, there are people like me who've been there, who understand. And I appreciate you letting them know that there is help. There is reprieve. And then also people need to understand, if you've not been there, you can't judge.
You can't.
My brother, I love you, man. I want to thank you for coming on and for sharing your truth and for sharing your heart tonight with us, with me. And I just want to end out with you just by saying, man, I am so grateful to God that that bullet didn't happen, that train didn't happen, man, and that you sit here today, this strong Black man who is not weak, but who is strong because he said, I can't do this by myself. I need help. I need help. So thank you. Thank you for saying.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I
love you too.
Oh my God. My goodness. Camille Wise says, thank you for sharing your testimony. Thank you. Let's go on and bring my brother PJ on. PJ, where you at? Come on in. PJ?
Hey, man, I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. There was everything he was saying touched home. I know exactly that feeling all too well. I think many of us do.
PJ, thank you for being here. You and I had conversations probably a couple months ago. I remember being in the drive-through of Crystals. Yes, I was eating some junk.
Shout out to Gristles.
in Atlanta, Georgia, and we were on the phone. We had a FaceTime and just like figuring out when we were going to be able to collaborate. And I'm glad to have you here today. And I reached out to you because once again, you were someone who's been very open and transparent about your journey with this topic and this subject. So again, man, tell us a little bit about you and you know, kind of like where have you been and where are you when it comes to suicide and just God, just who are you, my brother?
You know, I am grateful that I am still here. I don't think people really understand what that means when someone, as he was just saying, someone who actually takes it upon themselves to even attempt to try. You know, I have tried to kill myself over my entire lifespan now of 39 going on 40 years, 9 times. I don't want to get to a 10th. And those 8 times prior were younger times. When I just found out in 1999 my HIV status and not having anybody there, not understanding what it meant, not looking at myself as a diseased, dirty person who deserved this because of my own abomination of a life, according to those who read certain scriptures in the Bible, keyword certain scriptures, and realizing that back then I didn't see my worth back then. And if it wasn't for my cousin calling me when I was literally about to jump off a building, or a woman screaming while I was walking with tears in my eyes after I got my status, and I was just walking in the street straight across 280, and a truck was coming, and I wasn't paying attention. I had no care in the world, you know. And I look back on those times, and I understand what he was going through, the PJ back then, and to the man I stand here now, I'm grateful. And then the same thing as you were saying, as far as when you were in your situation and you woke up in the hospital. I often tell people now that sometimes you got to hit rock bottom in order to get back up. And for me, it was being taken into a psych ward for a weekend. Well, for some time, actually, because I recently in 2019, I'm very public about this because this is real life and people go through this, and some people talk about it in their close quarters or to 1 or 2 people, but that doesn't affect change. That doesn't help people. And I know that last 2018 to 2019, I lost roughly around 15 people close to me in my life, 6 of them in 1 month, which was also my birthday month. And during that time, it was, besides my grandmother, my father, my cousins, and several others, the people who were lost were the impactful people who made me feel, no matter how I felt, that I meant something. And without them here, it was starting to weigh on me to not have them to come to run to and say, I need some guidance, I need something, or give a call to your grandmother. And, she know me. That's why I go by Phillip James now, because that's what she would call me, as opposed to my full name or even just my first name. And I was explaining this to the intake coordinator, how hypocritical of me I feel as I'm answering these questions. Because number one, when the cops come, which is a sidebar, which is, I'm glad that I did post it on social media in a sense. And then I took the pills and then I actually threw them up, but I didn't throw them all up, but I fell asleep enough to wake up groggy. And my uncle was at my door with the sergeant of and about like 10 cops. And once they come, you got to go. And it was sitting in Kings County, and in there, just, how did I get here? The same thing you said at the very beginning. I was, looking around in an environment that smelled like urine, people screaming, hollering. I didn't see myself in someone who was of that type of where people label crazy, which people need to stop doing that, number one. I didn't see myself in that kind of way. I just knew the night before I had a little bit too much to drink, a lot to drink, which is technically why I don't drink as much now. I just good old water for the melanin in your skin.
Shout out to the H2O.
Okay. And I realized in that moment, waiting just for them to be able to like give me some information on when can I go home, how I got myself here. And when I say how I got myself here, because I think we do feel like we don't have someone to reach out to. But the truth is, and I've been saying this to people now, as I've learned, if I pick up the phone and I start scrolling from A through Z, I'm guaranteeing at least by the time I get to D, there's going to be someone who's going to listen.
PJ, let me ask you this question. You had mentioned in one of the attempts that you had put something on Facebook and then you took the pills. When you were at that point where you felt like there was no other alternative, like I'm done with this. I'm done with this pain. I'm done with feeling this way. Was there still something deep down inside that you wanted someone to rescue you, that you wanted someone to care, to know, to see, to something was there did you feel like I can't take this anymore, but somebody, please, if there's anybody, please see me?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a version of that. However, I posted it and then turned my phone off. It wasn't in my case. I don't look at it as a cry for help in a sense of, because I had made my decision.
Yeah, I
turned my phone off and did what I did. And the reason why I threw it up, because I took a numerous amount of pills and it just started doing. And I said, this is not the time. I'm not ready for this. This is not right. This is no. Like it clicked in my head. I even heard my grandmother's voice. Phillip James, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I threw them up and then just fell asleep on the floor. I remember that, waking up, dragging myself into my bed. And I know that some people have labeled suicide itself as especially if you post something, if you share something, that you're really not really ready to do it. One of the 8 times when I was younger, it was a gun, it was Russian roulette, and nothing happened, and so you really don't know what people are going through. And being someone who has been living with HIV and have now finally decided to come out publicly with it, someone who has been diagnosed as manic depressive and decided to come out publicly with it, because I know that my story can help somebody. And lately been on different platforms and talking about this, and the universe doing what it does, where I just sat down on this app and just started having conversations, just saying, if anybody wants to come on and talk, I'm here to talk. I'm not doing anything. And a woman came on, and she didn't know me from a can of paint, and she was talking about suicide.
Yeah.
And it just brought a lot of those feelings back to the point where, let me help you the way I wish somebody would help me.
Yeah. PJ, when we talked our pre-interview, and just now you mentioned to us that in one of the attempts, it was the devastation of losing so many people, so many key people in your life in such a short period of time. And then you also just mentioned that you do recognize that there are still some folks that love you and support you and care about you. For those people who are still here and who love you, support you, and care about you, knowing your history of attempts, we talked about this, how do you want those people to interact? Because sometimes people may feel like, oh my God, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to set you off, or am I saying the right thing, or like,
Right.
how do I support you, and all those other kind of things. Can you talk a little bit about, as a survivor, as someone who has been able to move beyond those points, how do you want to be supported today, and how could you help someone support someone else?
You know, I love that question, which I at first didn't know the answer to. You know, I publicly came out with it. I even created an episode of it on my podcast, on both of them actually. And I didn't know. I don't know. Call me, reach out. Always been the worst person when it comes to picking up the phone and calling people. Because when you're used to dealing with things on your own, you kind of learn how to deal with it on your own, when that is always not the best case. I know that when I say the best way for people to support me, and that's me, is to genuinely think about me when, like, let's say you're doing something and I know that you, let's say I'm having an event and I know that you're interested in things like this and you love to do like bike riding, let's say hiking or whatever have you, you would love to do that. And you don't reach out, but you know that I would love to. Those moments would make me feel as if I have no value to that person. And it's those words of, hey, you have value to me. I would love for you to be here, and not worry about what triggers you or anything. Because to be honest with you, I don't get triggered by other people's words in that sense, because I'm good. I'm still working through some things, but I would just want you to support me in what it is that I'm doing to better myself as well as help other people. So if you see that I'm doing something that's helping other people, support that. The same way we supported Popeyes and their chicken sandwich. Support us.
Don't come from my chicken.
But I'm just saying, the same way that we supported that, the same way we support our celebrities, support our friends who are actually doing things to help each other. And even if they're not doing anything, support them. Like a random text, something, a call, especially during this quarantine, we're all stuck inside, for those of us who realize that we're still in the pandemic, it's like,
you coming for people tonight, ATL, Texas. I didn't say no names. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I will. If you want me to say names, I can.
I'm just, I love you.
But I mean, it's true though. Like, there's this saying about treat people the way we want to be treated, and there's some truth to that. I believe that. But at the same time, treat me the way I want to be treated. Not the way I treat you, the way I know I want to be treated. Like if I know you, I know how you'd want to be treated. So let me treat you this way.
And so, but I hear you saying that's a two-way street, right? Because you would then treat that person in the way in which that they would best respond to or are looking for. Yeah. Right.
And it's also like if someone is on the top of your mind, then you stay on the top of their mind. So if someone reaches out, like I know I get a text message or a call from a person, I know, like, what, let me check in on this person. You got to check in on those who walk around here with a what's the word, with a porcelain smile and clown tears, and yeah.
PJ, man, I want to thank you for being on tonight, and again for being so open, so honest, so candid, and so vulnerable tonight with your story. You, I know for a fact that you are helping someone, blessing someone in some way, who can say, "Damn, like this brother is a walking miracle." And as I told Lawrence, I just want you to know, man, that I'm grateful that our paths are crossed. We got a chance to know each other via a project that we both worked on with Bloom. That was a beautiful experience. And so I'm just happy to have you on tonight. And is there something, and I'm sorry I didn't ask Lawrence this, but Lawrence, I'll definitely plug anything. Is there something that you're working on right now? You mentioned something that can help other people. Is there anything you're working on right now that people can know and can follow and can support?
Sure. I actually produced 3 podcasts. One in particular is the Dear You Project. And this is I coined this as my Super Soul Sunday on a Monday. My baby Oprah, it's centered around helping people through our stories, through an anonymous Dear You letter that I have everybody come in and write. And the great thing I love about that is that I have no idea what anybody writes about until we sit down and record it. So it's an actual authentic conversation. You're sharing your story, being vulnerable with me, and I'm learning something new. And you don't realize how many times we are all connected with our stories. Yeah. The other ones is Highly Melanated Podcast and Willing and Waiting Podcast. And also there's a project that I'm working on to create for, it's called Higo, How I Got Over, where I'm collecting 55 queer voices to speak about the Black queer, whichever letter of the alphabet city we fall up under, to get our experiences as a memoir capsule to the next generation to know how we got over our queerness. And I'm working with this with brother Louis Feemster, if anybody knows. But yeah.
All right. Love you, man. Thank you. For
love you too, man.
Tonight.
Thank you.
All right. We got a couple of comments that we just want to acknowledge here from our audience. Thank you all for participating. The Strong Black Woman label feels like more of an expectation than an honor. We need to be checked on and protected too, not to always bear the weight of the world in silence. Check on us more often. Offer, don't ask. Yes, Camille. This strong Black woman. I was raised by a strong Black woman who was human and who hurt just like me and who needed comfort and who needed support. So thank you, Camille, for always reminding us of that. The religious community speaks faith without works is void, yet they need to see that seeking help for deep depressions and hurt and pain is the work that goes along with the faith. Thank you, my brother Ken Austin Jr., who is also a clergyman himself. There's a mug that says, I have Jesus and a therapist. You can have both. They are not mutually exclusive. Do we have any more? Let's see. We also need to look at the disproportionate incidence of suicide attempts by our Black LGBTQ plus youth. As far as prevention, we as a community have power over whether or not we abandon and abuse our queer identified youth, y'all. Thank you, Camille, because as you heard in PJ's story, there's a lot of shame that was wrapped up in his status, right? And many people have labeled things as dirty, as an abomination, as you're going here, as you're not worthy of this. And to impose that upon our young people, to impose that upon anyone is evil, but to impose that upon our vulnerable population is not okay. And it's not love. Let's actually have a question. Let's see. We have a question for the clinician. My producer is telling me when he comes back on. So let's bring Damon back on. Damon, how you doing, brother?
Yeah. Can I say that moment, both of those, sir, was everything? I don't think the world understands how powerful our stories are. It legit changes people's lives and recognize that, hey, I'm not doing this by myself. This isn't just me. My God. Yeah, that inspires me to continue to do the work I do.
My brother.
My God.
There is so much power in our testimony. So much power in our testimony. We got a question from the audience. And let's see. How can I approach this topic with a friend that I believe is struggling with these thoughts, but is extremely private? Damon?
Such a great question. You know, when we think about what can we do, because that's something we have to keep in mind. What can we do? You know, there's this myth that talking about suicide ignites this fire for someone who may not have been thinking it. That's not true. Nothing about that is true, right? So the number one way to how we can help, right? There is 5 topics that are the CDC and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, like advice and outline of what we can do to support. And it's called Be the One Too, right? Hashtag Be the One Too. And pretty much, you know, what they say is ask the question. Yo, my cousin, brother, friend, are you thinking about suicide? As simple as that. You know, don't tiptoe around. Don't tiptoe around and let them know that you care, because once you can open up that door and say, hey, I'm here regardless, and you may not have the answers, but open up that door. You never know. What we do know that by not asking, there's an increase in Black suicides. Wow. Let's be clear, right? So just ask the question. Yeah. Ask the question, right? And, you know, I do want to go through, you know, what else we can do. Yeah, ask the question. No. So it's 5 things we can do. Everybody can do this. This is hashtag Be the One to help, right? So ask them, are they thinking about suicide? Like, as simple as that, right? From there, you know, be there with them to keep them safe, right? Keep them safe. Once you ask that question, you know, stay there, get a better feel, ask more questions, right? Get a better feel for what's going on, because that may determine the lethality behind it.
Yeah.
You may need to call EMS, 911 in that moment.
Yeah.
Be there with them, be present in what they're going through. If that means physically, yes, God, be there. If that means through the phone, be there. Whatever you can do to be there, be there. Help them connect. Help them connect. After you go through this process, see what resources are out there. After this is over, we're going to be given some resources. See what resources are out there, and then just follow up as a loved one or a friend would do. That sounds like a lot, but that's all things that we do on a regular basis.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. These are these intuitive things that we can do as loved ones, as people who care. Damon, I've got a couple of questions from our Facebook group. I'm not going to be able to get them all. And I think some of them were addressed. One is, it's still taboo for people of color to get counseling. And I think we talked about that. And especially in the religious context, that's come up as a theme over and over again. But we've been really trying to dispel that myth that
It's a whole myth.
Cannot have a belief in God, a belief in a higher power, and yet still seek mental health counseling and services.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the same thing as saying you can't have a God and a medical doctor.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you need both.
Right.
The same thing is you
Right.
need that therapist.
Yeah.
We all have things we struggle with
Yeah.
and we don't respond to properly. Why not have someone to share it with?
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Somebody says also, and this kind of goes into this, what we talk about, the family secrets. I talked about this on an episode a while back, that says the old school phrase is, what happens in this house stays in this house. And it's caused many to suffer in silence and to reject help. What is your response to that? That what happens in this house stays in, and we've all heard it.
Yes. You know, and so, you know, as a therapist and as one who recognizes and appreciate my story, I'm a country boy. You know, I grew up on a farm. Like, that was my life. I saw them kill what we ate. So as someone that grew up in a mentality that was I was in church all the time, you know, there was things that were taught to me, that was shown to me, that was very abusive. Let's be clear, that was emotionally abusive. That I shouldn't have been presented with, but it altered me. It altered the course of me. And as Black people, we go through that far more often than we acknowledge.
Yeah, come on.
And it's simply one of those things where we just have to acknowledge it. You know, there is family dysfunction, psychological distress, all of these things that are risk factors, right? And unfortunately, when we have something that again reinforces that shame. Right. That's why we're seeing molestation. Like, don't even get me started on that statement. That statement has caused a lot of damage to the Black family. Let's be clear.
Absolutely.
However you want to look at it, it has.
Absolutely. One last thing. When does your healing become your responsibility? Is a question that came from our Facebook group.
Yeah, it's always going to be your responsibility. It's always, you know, when you recognize that your healing is what you need in life, it ultimately falls back on you. But you're not in it alone. And that's really what it's about. Like, you got to do the work. They kept saying, prayer. Yeah, I'm a church boy. Prayer is great. Do the work. And you have to do the work.
Boy can sing too. He didn't put that
in. Get out of here. Boy.
But listen, this is a great segue into the resources that are out there.
Yeah.
So, first of all, we have the Black Mental Health Alliance.
Yeah.
These are going to come across your screen.
Such an amazing group.
Yeah. And then we have also the Black Mental Wellness. So we start with Black Mental Health Alliance, and then we have Black Mental Wellness.
Two organizations that are founded for and by people of color, Black people. So
absolutely. We have the NYC Well.
NYC. Yeah. NYC Well, 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days. Anytime you need some more support, reach out to us. Awesome. Call, chat, or text.
And then we have the Trevor Lifeline.
For that marginalized population, the LGBTQ community, this is a number that you can reach out to for that additional support.
Yeah. And then we end up with the National Suicide Prevention Line, I believe, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that's up there on the screen as well. I want to tell our viewers, don't worry if we went through these, because we actually have a link. Our producer will make a link available for you to actually get these resources there. They're all there for you. Please share. If you don't feel like this is something that you need right now, please keep these resources handy, because you never know when someone who is close to you
may need it.
Damon, we just have a couple more minutes. If you just wanted to leave us with something, what would you say? What would you say to the people?
You know, what I would say is that our stories are our power. If we can recognize our truth and walk in that, we can only become better.
Mm.
And part of doing that is saying you can't do it alone. So there are resources out there, you all. Do not be shameful for what your story is. There is so much power that comes from that. There's resources out there that can help you along the way, that can continue that journey with you. Don't feel that you can't. If you feel like you can't do it alone, yo, call us, give us a call. Those resources are there for a reason. There's power in walking in your truth.
Yeah. Why do you do this work? I'm just curious. Why do
Oh,
you
I do this work because I am a firm believer that I was created to help change the world.
Mm.
And I have to walk in what my truth is, and that's my truth, to help and change this world through helping us recognize the power in our emotions, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, man, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, brother, for first of all, accepting my invitation. Second of all, for
Yeah.
your insight and your expertise and your heart, and just in your heart, man, to this work. And thank you. We want to continue to support, especially seeing another Black man in the mental health space. I know you are a light and inspiration to a lot of
I
people
hope so.
who walk through your doors, or now in
Hope
this
so.
COVID era to
Through
see
this computer.
through this computer here, man. But stay encouraged, because we know a lot of times the clinician themselves need support and encouragement, just like the individuals that they are supporting. So thank you. Remember, folks, you can download these resources here. To all of my guests, to Damon, to Lawrence, to PJ, thank you. It looks like we've got a comment. I want to wrap up with one comment that we have here. Do you want to put that on the screen for me, Julius? Working in this field of mental health, I think some mental health challenges are rooted in the various systems that govern our world. Heterosexism, racism, sexism, etc. For example, some of the LGBT clients who are suicidal are not struggling with identity. They are struggling with the weight of what it means to exist when your family and society disown you for who you are. So even if we are able to embrace ourselves, we are still human. So to feel that type of rejection from that social, that support system that is supposed to be your first line of love, and if you feel rejection in that, just understand, folks, that's a powerful thing. Rejection can be a powerful thing, but we also want to wrap up and let you know that there is a way out. There is
hope.
All right. I love all of you. We are getting ready to wrap up. As always, I'm going to ask you to please like, share, subscribe. You can find us right here on Facebook, right here on YouTube. You can find us also on Instagram. I would love for you to please join our Facebook group, The Naked Truth Experience. Please put your comments in there. We will keep the conversation going. And then also, I want you to be on the lookout for our upcoming episodes. So September is a lineup that we have. Next week, we'll be having a very interesting conversation that I'm excited about. Black and privileged. Hear what I'm saying? Black and privileged. So y'all need to come back next week. Tell a friend about it. As always, I want to thank the incredible team that makes all of this happen. First of all, my wonderful technical producer, Mr. Julius Jones, who is there, who's making all of this happen. Thank you, my brother. If you heard that intro and you're about to hear this outro, y'all, I want to thank Mr. Rashad McPherson, a wonderful artist who wrote, produced, and recorded our intro and outro. And once again, I want to thank all three of my guests for tonight. Remember, get those resources if you need them, and I will see you next week on the Naked Truth Experience. Have a good night.